Mr. Olympia stage is built for the ultimate muscle giants. But can a human body actually get too big for bodybuilding's biggest prize? Some athletes pushed size to the extreme, expanding their frames and compromising classic balance and waistline taper. Names such as Greg Kovacs and Markus Rühl came to represent that debate. They were visibly enormous and at times outscored rivals in sheer mass, yet they often lost points for proportion and shape. Judges do not score weight, they score balance. That tension, when added muscle begins to undermine the ideal, cost some champions the title. These are the stories of 10 bodybuilders whose size became their greatest obstacle at Mr. Olympia. Number 10. Greg Kovacs. Greg Kovacs arrived like a thunderclap in the mid-1990s. At 6 feet 4 inches and weighing nearly 400 pounds in the off-season, he looked less like a bodybuilder and more like a living mountain. Magazines called him the heaviest mass monster ever. His arms reportedly measured over 27 inches and his chest stretched to about 70 inches. He joked that he had to turn sideways to squeeze through doorways. After earning his pro card at the 1996 Canadian Nationals, Kovacs stepped onto the IFBB stage. His professional debut at the 1997 Night of Champions placed him 16th, and he never quite broke into the top ranks at major shows such as the Arnold Classic. Judges praised his size, but criticized his conditioning and symmetry. Kovacs actually pushed the limits of human bulk. He ate relentlessly, reports say more than 12,000 calories a day, to build and maintain mass that dwarfed his rivals. That size became both his trademark and his burden. The extreme weight made it nearly impossible to achieve the paper-thin skin, sharp separation, and classic lines judges demanded. His wide waist and structural proportions worked against the flowing, balanced look that wins professional titles. In the ring, he was unmatched in scale, but lacking the refined details that matter in competition. Offstage, the toll showed on his body. Carrying such mass puts years of strain on his organs and heart. He retired from competition in 2005 and died of heart failure in November 2013 at 44. Greg Kovacs remains a legend and a cautionary tale. A man who chased size to the outer edge of what the body could hold, gaining fame and striking photos, but not the sport's top trophies. Number 9. Nasser El Sonbaty. Nasser the Professor. El Sonbaty grew up in Stuttgart, Germany. He never intended to become a bodybuilder. As a young man, he thought the bodybuilding look was unattractive. He played soccer until he was 17 and became quite skilled. After a match one day, he wandered into a small gym next to the field intending to do a few leg presses. Instead, he met a Hungarian weightlifter who changed his path. Nasser grew into a massive figure. At about 5 feet 11 inches to 6 feet tall, he weighed more than 315 pounds in the off-season. On stage, he cut down to roughly 275 to 285 pounds, but kept a very small waist. From the front, he looked unmatched, huge, balanced, and oddly elegant. From the back, he showed weaknesses the judges noticed. Fans called him too big, and some said he was an evolutionary freak of his era. The night of the 1997 Mr. Olympia became a defining moment. Nasser placed second behind Dorian Yates. He kept his composure on stage but later broke down in his hotel room. He called the result the biggest robbery in bodybuilding history and never stopped saying it. Even champions who came after him, like Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, said he should have won that night. Size both helped Nasser and held him back. He could not reach the razor-thin conditioning judges wanted while staying so heavy. In bodybuilding, visible abs are not enough. Every muscle must be carved. Glutes, lower back, hamstrings, all must be razor lean. At his top weight, Nasser's bulk made that impossible. Politics inside the IFBB and a high-profile drug test disqualification also worked against him. Those factors kept the Sandow trophy out of his hands. Offstage, Nasser surprised many. He was well-educated and spoke 7 languages fluently. He carried himself with a quiet, thoughtful air, which is how he earned the nickname the Professor. Yet his life ended far too soon. At 47, he died in his sleep from kidney and heart failure. He had admitted to using anabolic steroids during his career, and many have linked his death to those choices. Number 8. Quincy Taylor. Quincy Taylor was a man you could not miss. Standing 6 feet 4 inches and weighing about 360 pounds, he filled the stage like a storm filling the sky. People called him a mass monster because he carried more muscle than almost anyone in the sport. But size alone did not win him the Mr. Olympia crown. He grew up on the hard streets of Las Vegas, raised by a single mother in the housing projects. Violence was part of everyday life. He saw people shot and killed more than once. As a child, Quincy learned to be tough quickly. One night after an argument with his mother, he ran outside and began lifting homemade cement dumbbells. It started as an angry release, a way to turn pain into strength. He never stopped. By 16, he was already lifting numbers that stunned coaches: a 425-pound bench press and a 1,000-pound leg press. He starred in football, wrestling, and track. Everywhere he went, people saw raw, explosive promise. At 21, Quincy entered his first pro bodybuilding show. An Ironman reporter told him, "You're a natural. You should do this." Watching Sean Ray on stage changed him more than any compliment. Quincy had never seen a body posed like that. At that moment, he decided to give everything to bodybuilding. He did. He trained harder and pushed his body farther than most. His physique grew huge, almost cartoonish in scale. Quincy was unforgettable. Yet when it came to the sport's highest prize, he came up short. He qualified for the Mr. Olympia in 2005 and 2007, but did not place in those shows. Another account places him 11th in the brutally deep 2006 lineup. His story at Olympia was not one of a champion, but of a giant who proved he belonged on the stage without ever capturing the title. Later, he admitted that despite the fame, he made only about $20,000 to $30,000 a year from bodybuilding. He had built one of the most massive bodies the sport had ever seen, but it did not buy a comfortable life. Judges kept returning to the same issue. Quincy was too big for their ideal. His massive upper body often overpowered his legs, and his waist looked wider than judges preferred. His size, the very thing that made him unforgettable, also kept him from the crown. Quincy Taylor became the biggest bodybuilder many had ever seen. The irony was sharp. His greatness was also his obstacle. He pushed his body beyond limits, rose out of a violent childhood, and carved a place in bodybuilding history without ever standing at the very top. Number 7. Günter Schlierkamp. Günter Schlierkamp grew up on a farm in Olfen, Germany, where each day meant hard work and heavy lifting. The chores made his body strong and his mind resilient. At 12, he watched Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian and felt something shift inside him. He wanted to be that huge, powerful man. His parents thought weightlifting was a waste of time, so Günter trained in secret with a single 12-kilogram dumbbell. At 16, he finally got a gym membership. Farm work had given him a frame that gained muscle quickly. He trained harder and kept getting bigger. One day, he found himself at Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, a place he had only seen in magazines. He stood shoulder to shoulder with legends like Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, and Kevin Levrone. The men he once idolized were now his training partners. For Günter, it felt like a dream come true. Günter's body changed fast. By the early 2000s, he weighed more than 300 pounds in the off-season, and his chest measured over 60 inches. His back looked carved from stone. Fans talked about his size and power everywhere he went. Then came 2002. Weeks after placing 5th at Mr. Olympia, Günter entered the GNC show of strength. Ronnie Coleman stood across from him, the unbeatable champion fresh off another Olympia win. Nobody expected an upset, but the judges surprised the world. Günter won. For one night, he did what no one else did during Ronnie's 8-year reign. He beat the best. You might think that win led straight to the top, It did not. Günter never won the Mr. Olympia crown. In 2005, he achieved his best Olympia finish, 4th place. He was close, but not quite there. In 2006, he arrived unfocused and off his game. His conditioning was poor, and he dropped to 10th place. Many athletes might have pushed harder then, trained more, and risked everything for another shot. Günter chose a different path. He listened to his body and stepped back. He retired while he could still enjoy life with his wife and son. He stayed involved in the sport, stayed healthy, and kept the respect of his fans. That choice may be his greatest victory. Günter proved Ronnie could be beaten, and then he walked away before the chase took everything. For a giant in a sport that often demands more than life itself, he found a quiet and lasting kind of triumph. Number 6. Kai Greene. Kai Greene moved like a storm on stage, huge, graceful, and impossible to ignore. He carried stories in his muscles. Fans called him the Predator. He chased the Mr. Olympia crown and came closer than almost anyone. But the title always slipped away. Kai grew up in Brooklyn. As a child, he lived in foster homes and juvenile facilities. Life was hard. He knew hunger and worry. Bodybuilding became his shelter. Lifting weights gave him rules to follow, a place to belong, and a reason to get up every morning. As a teenager, he trained with fierce focus. Arnold Schwarzenegger's films inspired him, and his body soon began to change. His shoulders widened, his legs thickened, and his poses took on a strange, powerful beauty. People noticed. He started entering shows and winning. In 2011, he won the New York Pro, which earned him a place at Mr. Olympia. When he reached Olympia, Kai's star rose fast. He finished among the top contenders and became a 3-time runner up from 2012 to 2014. His biggest rival was Phil Heath. Phil had a balanced look, sharp muscle separation, clean conditioning, and near-perfect proportion. Kai had incredible size and dramatic shape, but the judges preferred Phil's overall balance. Fans argued for years about who deserved the title. Many said Kai was too big for Mr. Olympia, as if his size worked against him. That sounds dramatic, but the truth is more measured. As usual, Mr. Olympia does not crown the biggest person alone. Judges look for a whole package: size, symmetry, conditioning, and presentation. Kai had size in abundance, but the title rewards harmony between parts, not only mass. After 2014, Kai did not return to the Olympia stage. In 2015, he made an emotional announcement that he would not compete. He hinted that more was going on behind the scenes, and later reports pointed to disputes over contracts and his supplement business. Some stories said he was offered a special chance to come back in 2017, but he declined. Details remain mixed and sometimes unclear. Today, Kai Greene is remembered not by a Mr. Olympia trophy, but by his presence. He reshaped how people thought about bodybuilding. He showed that art and size could live together in one body. Whether or not he won the title, his legacy stands tall. A giant who turned struggle into power and made the sport more dramatic, personal, and unforgettable. Number 5. Markus Rühl. Markus Rühl was not just a bodybuilder. He was a monster of muscle, a man so huge that when he walked on stage, people looked at him like he came from another world. Markus Rühl grew up playing soccer. He was fast, strong, and loved the game. At 18, a serious knee injury ended that dream. Doctors warned he might never play again. To get his leg back, Markus turned to the gym. Lifting was meant to help him recover, not change his life. His body responded quickly. Muscles grew rapidly. His chest, shoulders, and arms expanded into something enormous. What began as rehabilitation became discovery. He had an extraordinary gift for size. By 19, he was training seriously. At first, he weighed only about 120 pounds. He pushed through brutal workouts and a constant appetite. The hunger and the iron shaped him into a giant. In 1995, he entered his first amateur show, the Bacgau Cup, and won both the heavyweight and overall titles. he rose fast. In 1999, Markus qualified for Mr. Olympia, the sport's biggest stage. Las Vegas brought bright lights fans and the chance to prove himself. His debut did not go as he hoped. The Olympia stage revealed a gap between spectacle and judgment. Spectators admired his sheer mass, but judges looked for more than size. His first appearance ended in disappointment. Still, Markus did not quit. He competed professionally for 13 years, entered 32 contests, and made 9 Olympia appearances. He became a living legend, a mass monster whose presence filled arenas. Fans cheered and cameras followed, yet the Mr. Olympia crown never came. Why not? Because the top prize favored balance, not just bulk. Markus carried extraordinary mass in his upper body, but his proportions were uneven. His legs and hamstrings often lagged behind his massive chest and arms. Conditioning and symmetry mattered as much as size. In that old calculus, being the biggest was not always the best route to first place. When he left competition, Markus stayed in the world he helped shape. He started a supplement brand called Rühl's Bests and moved online to teach and speak plainly about training. His story remains simple and honest. A soccer kid who became one of bodybuilding's most unforgettable giants, and proof that raw size can win fans, but not always the trophy. Number 4. Paul Dillett. Paul Dillett felt like a comic book character long before he ever stepped onto a bodybuilding stage. Born in Montreal in 1965, he grew up enormous and athletic, and even played in the Canadian Football League, where teammates nicknamed him a statue because of his massive, almost unreal frame. Dillett switched to bodybuilding in the early 1990s and rose quickly. He stood 6 feet 3 inches and, in the off-season, reached as much as 330 pounds. Yet his waist stayed amazingly small, only 29 inches. On stage, his chest and shoulders looked enormous, and his size made even top champions appear smaller. By comparison, being that big brought a strange fame. Fans loved the spectacle of a man whose silhouette was almost cartoonish. Promoters and photographers chased that image because it sold tickets and magazine covers. In 1991, he placed second at the North American Championships, still new to the sport. A year later, he won both the heavyweight and overall titles and earned his IFBB Pro card. Overnight, he became a must-watch name and a hopeful for Mr. Olympia. When he made his Mr. Olympia debut in 1993, Dillett surprised everyone by finishing 6th as a rookie. His size was breathtaking. He looked like a walking mass of muscle, so big that fans and critics called him Freakzilla. His proportions were comic book large and impossible to ignore. But size alone was not enough. Dillett often struggled with smooth, controlled posing. Judges marked him down in mandatory poses, where clarity and sharp lines mattered. At a time when the sport was dominated by Dorian Yates, and the demand was for mass combined with razor conditioning, Dillett's enormous but sometimes less defined look worked against him. Some observers also point to judging preferences and politics as part of the explanation. The most lasting image of Dillett's career did not happen at Olympia. In 1994, at the Arnold Classic, he collapsed mid-competition, screaming in pain and needing to be carried away. The footage spread through the bodybuilding world and came to symbolize the dangers and extremes of the mass monster era. Dillett never won Mr. Olympia. He continued competing through the 1990s, with his last Olympia appearance in 1999, when he placed 7th. After that, he could no longer qualify for the sport's biggest stage. In bodybuilding lore, Paul Dillett became the archetype of a man almost too big for Mr. Olympia, an awe-inspiring figure whose raw size both defined him and ultimately held him back. Number 3. Lou Ferrigno. Lou Ferrigno grew up in Brooklyn in the 1950s as a quiet boy with a loud fight inside him. Early ear infections took most of his hearing. Being hard of hearing made him a target for bullies, and his home life offered little comfort. Nothing he did seemed to satisfy his father. That constant doubt followed Lou everywhere, but it also sparked a stubborn determination. At 13, he turned that determination into action. With almost no money, he made weights from broom handles and cement and trained in his basement. He pinned pictures of heroes on the walls, Steve Reeves as Hercules and comic book giants like the Hulk and Spider-Man. Those images gave him a shape to chase and a strength to become. He watched other bodybuilders, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Larry Scott, Dave Draper, and learned from them. Every workout was an answer to fear. Get stronger than the doubt, stronger than the voice saying he would never be enough. Gradually, Lou grew into a giant. At 6 feet 5 inches and with a massive frame, he became one of the biggest men in bodybuilding. Standing 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing more than 285 pounds, his massive frame made him a giant of the 1970s golden era. His rise was fast. From placing 22nd in a local contest, he pushed himself onto the top stages, and in 1974, finished second at Mr. Olympia behind Arnold Schwarzenegger. He seemed poised to claim the crown. Then came 1975, and the moment that changed everything. On the morning of the contest, Lou sat with Arnold and his father. Arnold told Lou's father that Lou was not ready, that he would fail. Instead of supporting his son, Lou's father looked at him as if he were a disappointment. That look shattered Lou's confidence in an instant. Later, backstage, Arnold asked how he felt. Lou's answer was quiet and final. "I am going to lose. You are the best." He walked on stage already defeated. He trembled in front of the crowd and finished third. The scene was immortalized in Pumping Iron, where a subtle psychological battle played out for everyone to see. Years later, Arnold admitted Lou had made a choice. He stepped away from competitive bodybuilding for football and acting. That detour led to a major television role, The Incredible Hulk, in 1977. Fame followed, but it came with regret. Lou later said he regretted never becoming Mr. Olympia. When he returned to compete, it was not the same. He placed lower and eventually retired. Many point to Arnold's mind games as the reason Lou lost, and those games mattered. But there was another, quieter truth. Lou was simply too large for the judge's ideal. At his height, perfect balance is hard to achieve. Long legs can throw off proportion, and arms and chest must scale in ways most bodies never face. Arnold, 3 inches shorter, fit the classic look the judges favored. Once doubt took hold, Lou could not see past it. Number 2. Roelly Winklaar. Roelly Winklaar had a presence that made conversations stop. People did not just see a bodybuilder, they saw the beast, a man whose arms seemed to defy the limits of flesh and iron. Roelly grew up on Curaçao, a small island with big dreams. His father died when he was 5, and the family moved to the Netherlands to start over. As a child, he was drawn to muscles and heroes. A photograph of Arnold Schwarzenegger sparked something in him. His younger brother Quincy pushed him into the gym, and Roelly began lifting with a quiet hunger. Later, he named Dexter Jackson as one of his inspirations, a reminder that his respect for the sport ran deep. Life did not make things easy. Years after the move, Roelly was in a severe car crash. Doctors feared for his sight and for one badly damaged arm. For nearly 2 years, he could hardly train. Most people might have quit, but Roelly turned the pain into fuel. When he finally returned to the gym, his arms began to grow rapidly, eventually reaching about 24 inches. He often shrugged, saying he had no secret routine. They just kept getting bigger. In 2010, he broke through on the professional scene by winning the IFBB New York Pro. Standing around 5 feet 6 inches, he somehow looked larger than men half a foot taller. Fans crowded to see him in personnel. His arms seemed unreal. Roelly's career continued to rise, and 2018 became his best year. He placed third at Mr. Olympia and won the first People's Champion Award, chosen by fans. That victory showed the bond between him and the audience. Many fans believed he deserved the Sandow trophy, yet the judges saw a different story. Roelly's extraordinary arms, though awe-inspiring, created a problem of balance. They overshadowed his chest and made his shoulders look narrow by comparison. In a sport where symmetry and proportion matter as much as size, those massive arms became a handicap. Then, in 2021, fate intervened again. A torn rotator cuff required surgery and sidelined his competitive career. He has not returned to the Olympia stage since. Roelly Winklaar stepped onto the Mr. Olympia stage 10 times and never won the title. His legacy is more than trophies. He changed expectations of what a body could look like, earned the love of fans around the world, and proved that an unbreakable will can push life forward, even after the darkest moments. Number 1. Dennis Wolf. Dennis Wolf was a mountain among men, a presence that filled every frame and doorway. Born in 1978 in Tokmak, then part of the Soviet Union, Dennis Wolf moved to Germany with his family in 1992. He learned to work with his hands by painting houses and fitting windows, jobs that hardened his body and prepared him for more. At 18, after seeing pictures of Arnold, he joined a local gym with friends. They drifted away, but he kept coming back. Dennis grew into a true giant of bodybuilding. Standing 5 feet 11 inches and weighing between 245 and 265 pounds on stage, he built an X-shaped silhouette that stunned judges and fans alike. His shoulders and back were massive, his waist narrow, and his presence impossible to ignore. People began calling him the Big Bad Wolf. Yet the one prize every bodybuilder dreams of, the Mr. Olympia Sandow, never came. He began competing in 1999 and quickly proved himself. A second-place finish at the NRW Newcomer Championships led to early victories, and by 2000 he was winning heavyweight and overall titles. Those wins convinced him to turn pro. For years he placed near the top at Mr. Olympia, appearing 10 times in all and often finishing in the top 5. Still, the title slipped through his fingers. Fans and insiders debated why. Some said his size worked against him in eras that favored razor-sharp conditioning over sheer mass. Others pointed to the crowded field during the Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler years when lineups were stacked with legends. Dennis and his coaches also spoke of later health struggles that prevented him from staying at his peak. After his 2014 Arnold Classic win and a strong 2015 season, strange problems began. Training brought uncontrolled movements and a sense that his body would not hold together as it used to. An MRI found herniated discs in his neck at C4 through C7. In 2016, he had surgery that fused 3 discs. He tried to come back, but the body that once carried him to stadiums and headlines had changed. His return at the 2018 Arnold Classic ended in a disappointing 12th place. Dennis called that preparation the worst he had ever done and acknowledged that his best days were behind him. Still, his legacy is clear. A man whose size and shape redefined the sport's limits and whose story reminds us how fragile even the mightiest bodies can be.